Thank you. While still upstanding, I call upon Sheikh Bashir Maalim and Rebecca Kogo to lead us in the opening prayers. Karibuni. Secretary, State Department for Internal Security and National Administration, Director, ICPAC, Dr. Abdi Fidaro, members of the Diplomatic Corps present, Wangari Kirumba from NCCSRP, Elizabeth Carabine, Advisor to the UN Special Envoy for the Horn of Africa, Abdikadir Mohammed, Coordinator IGAD, Climate Security Mechanism, members present here, chiefs, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me from the onset, Bwana PS, to present the apology of Secretary National Administration, Madam Beverly Obora. She was supposed to be here, but she requested to come tomorrow during the closure. So we will not have her today. Right away, Bwana PS, we start with some introductions, quick introductions. Let's see who is here. Mention your name and your location as fast as possible. Karibuni.
I'm Abdistar Maalim Bashir, Senior Chief, Shimber Fatuma Location, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, I'm Rebecca Kogo, Chief Kapsaret Location. Thank you, sir.
Sir, I'm Mutiso Cornelius, Chief Mula Location. Thank you, sir.
Sir, I'm Senior Chief Juan Robert Lango of Arudi Location, Homa Bay. Thank you, sir.
Sir, I am Senior Chief David Tenai, Tindred Location. Thank you, sir.
Sir, I'm Jacob Masem Pulia, Junior Chief 1, Ikingo Location. Thank you, sir.
Sir, I'm Evelyn Sindani from Maragaru Location. Thank you, sir.
Sir, I'm Charles Kalok Mulatia, Chief Kibwezi Location, sir. Thank you.
Sir, I'm Fred Kemoy Lorema, Kaisakat Location. Thank you, sir.
Sir, I'm Ezekiel Obongi Takunya, High Reach Location. Thank you, sir.
Sir, Sylvester Ndiwa, Chief Elgon Location. Thank you, sir.
Sir, I'm James Kariuki, Kibiko Location. I'm the area chief here. Karibuni wote. Thank you, sir.
Sir, Uliana Humphrey, Chief Kakape Location. Thank you, sir.
Sir, I'm Ruth Jalo, Chief Kitata Location. Thank you, sir.
Sir, I'm Phyllis Atieno, Chief Gebe West Location, Beta. Thank you, sir.
Sir, Chief Solomon Yepurmo, Itape Location, sir.
Sir, Samson Kain, Senior Chief, Pangani Location, Nairobi. Thank you, sir.
Sir, Margaret Kuka, Chief Jeperit Location, sir, Nandi.
Sir, I am Senior Chief Moses Kendagor, Timboroa Location, Uasin County.
Good morning, sir. I'm Okele Oscar Halende, Chief Township Location, Busia.
Good morning, sir. I'm Senior Chief David Samoei from Suwe Location, Uasin. Thank you, sir.
Sir, I'm Samuel Wanyoni Kisuya, Chief Much Location in Bungoma,
Thank you, sir.
Sir, I'm Joel Ajabas, Senior Chief Garissa Location, sir.
Sir, I'm Gilbert King Mambaka, Chief Veteran Location, Tarakanini County. Thank you, sir.
Sir, my name is Ibrahim Jaro Adan, Chief from Mandera Bravo Location, sir.
Good morning, sir. I'm Tobias Wanyango Aduda, Senior Chief, Northeast Karachuonyo Location. Thank you, sir.
Sir, I'm Daniel Muriatodo, Chief Leland. Thank you, sir.
Sir, my name is George Lele, Kapchoro Location, Nandi County. Thank you, sir.
Sir, I'm Wesonga Lilian, Chief Nabuku Location, Busia County.
Now, sir, we head straight to this narrative.
Good morning, sir. My name is John Korea. I'm head of security here, sir. Welcome, sir.
Good morning, sir. My name is Dennis Oyumbo Mosa. I'm the Mountain Evaluation Knowledge Management EPAC here. Thank you.
Sir, I'm Martha Njihia, Assistant Chief, Emanyata Sub-Location. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, sir. I'm Lucy Jeriki Masha, Assistant Chief, Kibiko A Sub-Location. You're welcome, sir.
As you conclude, sir, we head to this table here, and I will request Mr. Abkadim Mohammed to introduce them. Karibu.
Excellency, we have our partners here. We have Fabian from UNEP. We have got Hannah from UNEP, Special Envoy for the Horn of Africa. We have got Sabira from ION, people who are interrelationship in this climate security triangle. Thank you very much. I'm Rabbi Karim Ahmed, the coordinator climate security mechanism.
With your permission, sir, allow me to work with him so that he gives us welcoming remarks to pigia makofi anapokuja mbele.
Thank you. In Kenya, we say all protocols observed. So I start with the Permanent Secretary, Dr. Omolo Elizabeth Kraban, and my boss. And Excellency, in 2023, President Ruto and other heads of states and government in IGAD have established the Climate Security Coordination Mechanism, which I coordinate. And when I first met your wonderful team, led by Wangari, George, and Chebukati, and they told me about the Climate Action Day of Chiefs, it reminded me of my days growing up in northern Kenya. Those days, the chief is what we knew as a community. The chief was for us the police, the chief for us was the judge, the chief for us was the gatekeeper of information in terms of communication, the chief for us was an elder, the chief was a brother, the chief was the one who was used to reinforce range management issues, early warning, especially in terms of livestock vaccination and other vaccinations. So I was carried away, and I told them, no, this cannot be just the presidential directive for tree planting. We need to make it bigger and let it encompass the whole of the climate security perspectives, be it early warning, be it conflict resolution, be it range management or water management, be it gatekeeping itself. It is, I just want to say that chiefs not reach where Safaricom doesn't reach. Because even if for those people who have got mobile phones, personally, that knowledge, even if it's written in their language, it needs interpretation. First, it's not written in their language, and if it's written, it needs translation in a way that they can understand and interpret it. Secondly, for those who don't have mobile phones, the chief has a way of reaching them. And I come from a community that's bordering Somalia. Trust me, there are no unsolved murders in those areas. When murders happen, the chief knows the clans that are conflicting. The chief knows who has crossed the border. The chief knows the conflict that's happening across the border. I don't think there is any other institution that can have, even the intelligence cannot have that. Because He deals with the elders. He knows the tribal conflicts. He knows the precedences that were there. Because in pastoral communities, conflicts are resolved through precedences and history. So that's why I say Chief's outreach is better than even Safaricom. So this is what I've been dealing with your team, and we have got reached a very good stage. And to our partners, I tell them this is where the rubber meets the road. Because if we are talking of early warning, we are talking of conflict resolution, if we are talking of climate-induced mobility and migration, if we are talking of any other, this is where the directives from the PS reach the chief in minutes, and the information from the chief can easily reach the decision-making table at the PS or the minister. So if we want to build the capacity of our member states and resolve these issues and produce results, I think there is no institution that can boast what the provisional administration and the national government, Ministry of Interior, can do. Excellency, we have a colleague here who has been working in Ministry of Environment, and later he joined ICPAC for the last 30 years. He's been working with us. He told me this idea has been proposed 30 years ago to use the provisional administration for early warning. Director will tell you we have got an event called Greater Horn of Africa Climate Outlook Forum, where we bring all METs from the 7 countries in IGAD. The data is cooked, the science is cooked, but our weakness, the weakest link, is that data reaching the last mile user. So this idea was proposed 30 years ago, but it was not realized. I think this is an opportunity together with our partners where we can, in Kenya now there is an idea that's called the One Government, where all ministries work together. In climate security, I have coordinated in former persons from your Ministry, Excellency, Commissioner Barre is part of our network. We have got defense, we have got environment, and we have got foreign affairs. But in terms of outreach, I think this is the ministry that has got the greatest outreach. So I want to say we are starting with Kenya, my home country, as IGAD, and if we succeed, I assure you we'll be replicating and we'll be coming to you to share the best practices, your team sharing the best practices with the other governments and ministries in IGAD region. Thank you very much, Excellency, and welcome to IGAD. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Abdikarim Mohammed. And now, Bwana PS, allow me to usher on stage Madam Elizabeth Karabine, advisor to the UN Special Envoy to the Horn of Africa. You're welcome. Tupige makofi pia.
This one. Thank you very much. Good morning. You can hear me well. Habari za asubuhi. Good. So PS, Dr. Raymond Damola, Dr. Abdi Fidar, Director of ICPAC, and our good partner, both welcome and thank you for having us here today for this very important meeting. Chiefs, wonderful to see you in such numbers and really, really happy to be together this morning. I was introduced there as the advisor in the Office of the Special Envoy to the Horn of Africa. The Office of the Special Envoy of the UN, the United Nations, is mandated to support the IGAD region, so the countries of the IGAD region, in sustaining peace and security. And in doing so, we work very closely with the whole UN system. My colleagues here, you heard them introduced from UNEP, the Environment Programme, the International Organization Migration, another colleague in the corner there from United Nations Development Programme. We work with the missions in the region as well. And of course also with the member states, because when we're working on peace and security, of course, development, humanitarian affairs, peace building, all of these are linked to our mandate, and especially also to climate change and climate action. So as such, the Office of the Special Envoy is responsible for supporting IGAD, partnering with IGAD in line with a framework of cooperation between the UN and IGAD, signed back in 2015, in promoting peace and security across the Horn of Africa. And that's how you see us come to this point today, some 10 years later, of partnering, and why it's a very special moment to see this activity under the mechanism that Abdi Karim has just described really coming to life here. So responding to the challenges that are raised by our member states, we in the Office of the Special Envoy, the political mission, are really recognizing that climate change is a key issue for peace and security across the region. And that climate action then to address those risks is really a point on which we can all agree, we can cooperate very well, and for which actually there are many opportunities across the sort of development, humanitarian and peace-building nexus, as we call it in the business, but which you know very well what it means at the community level. We don't have a special envoy just now, otherwise I would be conveying her warm greetings. I know she would have loved to be here. She moved to a new position and we're waiting for her replacement still. So instead I convey the greetings of our office, our acting head of office, Sheikh Konde, which is based in Addis Ababa. I want to really highlight what we've seen over the 10 years, and in my time over the past 3 years working on this agenda, that here in the Horn of Africa, the member states are really leading the way on everything that, globally I mean. So at the international level we look at the Horn of Africa and we particularly look at Kenya as really leading the way on climate issues in general, but also this area of climate peace and security. And I can really assure you that in New York, our headquarters, the member states there are really paying attention to the message and the narrative and the policy direction that's being set here in the Horn of Africa and in Kenya in particular. And I'd really like to thank Pia Somola for being with us from the very beginning. We had our first technical meeting here in Kenya, thanks to Kenya government and your ministry, and also here at the Africa Climate Summit just 2 years ago now. You were there to support us from the very beginning and again today. So this all sounds very much regional level, quite far away from the context that you are speaking about. And Abdi Karim said it very well, because today, for us, very important to get the opportunity to zoom in to the local and the community level. And because we know that that's where the risks are felt, where the impacts are felt, whether it's on food security, water scarcity, people being forced to move or forced to move further or forced to move longer or forced to move completely, permanently. The grievances between communities over resources or land can really be exacerbated by the impacts of climate change. And then the governance structures, which you represent here today, really coming under pressure, because of all these difficult challenges, interlinked challenges to face. So in that sense, you're really in the front lines. And that's where we depend on you to be telling us, what are the problems, how can we best serve, how can we best address and support communities, and in particular the most vulnerable people who are already managing so much responsibility in their livelihoods and their communities, to work with you, the local government, to really, support action and change at that level. So this is where it's a very exciting moment for us to hear from you. And in that sense, I'm not going to speak much longer. Apologies for my voice. I think you can hear nimepata homa kidogo poleni. And I'll just say asanteni sana. It's really a pleasure to be here with you. I keep saying, but I really mean it from here. And thank you very much for having us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Elizabeth, and pole sana. Quick recovery. Allow me now, when I'm pleased to invite on stage Madam Wangari Kirumba from NCCSRP, which is the National Climate Change Security Response Program, to make her remarks. Tumkaribishe kwa makofi kidogo.
Dr. Raymond Umolo, the Principal Secretary for the State Department for Internal Security and National Administration, Dr. Abdi Fidar, the Director, IGAD and ICPAC, and Ms. Elizabeth Carabine, Advisor to the UN Envoy for the Horn of Africa, and my fellow participants, good morning. It's such a pleasure for me to speak to you this morning. My name is Wangari Kirumba, a climate change expert, and have been working on this program, the National Climate Change Security Response Program, and so delighted to see a morning like today, when some of the things that we've been trying to plan for about 2 years come to fruition. And so I'm so delighted as a person, even before I share with you my speech, to see all of you, and so we're very grateful for the leadership and for the inspiration that you've caused to have this happen. So as part of the learning resources we've already shared with the esteemed chiefs is a very thought-provoking question, which I would like to repeat here, which is, have you ever found yourself at the center of a crisis that couldn't be solved by one particular authority? You have seen that question in the online classes? Yes. Climate change is such one crisis that has a solution that can only be delivered by all of us. It cannot be addressed by one particular authority. But having said that, in the value chain of deriving solutions for climate change, certain people sit or stand at very strategic positions to deliver value around creating solutions for climate change. And I so confidently propose that you, the chief, stands as a critical, strategic positioning to provide solutions for climate change. I have a short speech which I've titled Climate Change in Kenya, the Truth That We Cannot Ignore. And I'll just share with us just a few facts about climate change, and then share with you what, under the leadership of our peers, what the National Climate Change Security Response Program is all about. And then I sit down because I'll be around for the next 2 days as we undertake the training. So this morning I speak to you not only to inform you, but to provoke you, to awaken you, because of what I've just said, that all of us here, and for today, specific mention of the chiefs, you have a very strategic positioning in delivering climate solutions. Climate, because climate change, it's no longer a topic in books, it is what you and I have been seeing around. Fact one about our country. Melting of the glacier in Mount Kenya. We don't keep talking about this. I know we talk about floods, we talk about rainfall, we talk about drought. But the impact of losing glaciers in Mount Kenya, think about all the rivers and the populations that are supported by the rivers that come from Mount Kenya. And part of what climate change invites us to do is to look into the future. So this is what you're seeing happening now, what happens in the year 2050. And if you appreciate the entire population that depends on River Tana, then you appreciate the impact of losing glaciers in Mount Kenya. And 80% of that is already gone. Fact number two is what is happening in the Rift Valley. We have our lakes swelling, and we have our villages flooding, and so many displaced people as what we consider as impacts of climate change. And that is evidence that our land is changing shape. And somebody then must begin today to craft solutions for now and for a future to come, using what is happening now to model potential impacts and define or design or conceptualize solutions. And that is why we are here today. Agriculture. 70% of us here in Kenyans depend on agriculture. If you can just pick one crop because of its significance in GDP, significance in providing labor and income and supporting very critical populations in this country, that is tea. Scientists are telling us by 2050, about 30% of our tea farmers will be out of business if we continue with the changes in climate as it were. And what does that mean to us? Then we must begin to think about that farmer who will no longer be able to do tea in 2050 so that we craft the solution now and reduce the potential impacts. And I want to repeat, that's the reason again we are here. I'll just use two others. That with warmer temperatures, we are getting more sick. There is now malaria in areas that typically, traditionally did not have malaria, as an indication of what else could be happening in the health space. And so we have more people in danger, not just from hunger, but from disease, including new and strange diseases. Like I said, today I'm speaking to provoke us so that we can then tune ourselves to why are we here? Why are we doing this training? Why have we, with permission and guidance from our boss, allowed all ourselves to leave our stations to come here? It's because we want to begin to craft solutions around those issues that I've spoken to. One more thing which is very important to all of us is the loss of GDP and loss of income. So far, according to our economists in the country, about 3% of GDP, that's the income of the country, gets lost every year. It's a figure I keep arguing it from a scientific point of view. It's just that I'm not an economist. I do not think it's purely correct, but it's an indication of what climate change is doing in this country. So having framed the few general problems that we know, I could speak about rice, I could speak about maize in Kitale and the impact, and that's what we'll be looking at in the next 2 days. What exactly is climate change doing in our villages, outside the general topic of unpredictable rainfall pattern, extended droughts? Exactly what is climate change doing in West Pokot? What is it doing in Kitale for the maize farmers? What is it doing in Kano and Mwea to rice farmers? And the position and the siting of us being here at IGAD, which is known as a research center, is so much so that we use science and data and evidence to speak to the solutions that you want to craft. So we move from the general assertions to specific details on what's happening exactly in Kitale, what's happening and what's likely to happen in another 30 years. And so therefore, what can we do now? Having painted that grim picture, I just want to share with all of us that there is hope. And the first hope that we have is great leadership. That in our PS, he saw what I have heard from many world leaders, that nobody in security per se speaks directly to climate change with such vision as our peers. And that about 1.5 or 2 years ago, he set up a program, the National Climate Change Security Response Program, to specifically spend its time to think through how you as the staff, the human resource staff in the ministry can support the climate change agenda in the country. What a leadership. It is not common in many other countries. And as part of my introduction, that yes, I've been in climate change space for over 10 years now. And so this program, the program that brings us here, is crafted to achieve just the following: to provide you with capacity. You, the chief that I defined, is so well positioned to drive the climate change agenda in this country, to provide capacity to you, knowledge and preparedness, so that you can facilitate climate action in the country. And like I said earlier, it's because of your strategic positioning. You sit almost at the perfect point or the perfect interface between government and the people. In the vision of the country around climate change is what you have heard is called the 15 billion tree planting program. And I already gave credence to the leadership in our country that there's a lot that has been done around giving direction and vision on climate change. So first and foremost, we have the 15 billion tree planting program as a presidential directive in this country. And in an attempt to achieve that drive, for those of us now who have taken time to look at it and who sit as experts, there's one thing we cannot run away from: that the figures and the vision that is behind that presidential directive, we must all as Kenyans be able to participate. And that terminology which I learned from Boss is a whole society approach. How do we get everybody to participate in this intervention? As part of the training that we'll be doing in the next 2 days is to see exactly what's the methodology. How do you as a chief, at least I saw Chief Mandera East, how on a day-to-day basis do you support that initiative? How do you organize the communities and the people around you towards that initiative? Because if I just break it down into figures, 15 billion trees in 10 years is about 1.5 billion trees per year, right? Divide by 10. It's about 120 million trees per month. And that translates to about 4 million trees per day. I would like to just give a rider that so far we, again under guide leadership from Boss, as a ministry or as a program, we've tried to see how you, the chiefs, can drive a 5 billion figure. And in another presentation, I'll be showing exactly the methodology on how do you as a chief drive a tree planting exercise that attempts to address a figure up to about 5 billion. I know because you're public servants like me, you have your job description. But in me just trying to understand and characterize who a chief is, out of my own traditional knowledge, out of what I've read in Madam Opora's office, out of my engagement with the chiefs, part of why you are so strategically placed as the people to drive the agenda, this climate agenda, is that one, you sit as an influencer, and I choose that language because it's now a language that's fairly understood, as an influencer and as a mobilizer. Your words as a chief, now if I'm speaking like a Kenyan, they shape community behavior. You tell us what to do. What the chief says is what the communities tend to gravitate towards. Number two is that I'd just like to buttress what Abdikarim already said earlier, is that you are the government, you oversee customary land, and a lot of the climate interventions are on land, and specifically the tree planting initiative will have so much to do with how land management is done in this country. And so to have you, the chiefs, who sit as people who oversee customary land is very strategic, because then you understand the dynamics and what and how you would shape the behavior of the communities around you. Thirdly, is that we appreciate your role as mediators and teachers. That we see you as a people who resolve our personal and community problems. So we come here then for a training which we have spent some time to look through, because we suppose that you need capacity, you need the knowledge. And for me, who is largely by training, who is an environmental planner, you need methodologies on how to undertake this. So it's been a pleasure talking to you. I'm looking forward to interacting more with you for the next 2 days. And thank you, sir, for the opportunity to participate this way in driving climate agenda in the country. Thank you, Bonnie.
A round of applause again for Madam Wangari Kiungo. Thank you so much. Without spending more time, allow me, on PS, to now invite Dr. Abdi Fidar, Director, IC Park, to speak to us briefly. Tumkaribishe pia kwa makofi.
Good morning. Let me first welcome you to IGBAC, particularly Dr. Raymond Omolo, PS for State Department for Internal Security and National Administration. Let me also welcome Madam Elizabeth, the advisor for Special Envoy UN to Horn of Africa. Thank you very much. The fact that you are here today, despite all the traffic jam and the construction road, shows your commitment, all of you. IGAD is founded to coordinate its member states to achieve peace and security and sustainable development. And in fact, we know that climate change affects peace and security and development as well. Therefore, it is the mandate of IGBAC, IGAD Climate Prediction and Application Center, to provide timely and reliable climate information and early warning services to its member states. We know that climate change and the resultant extreme weather events have implications on our livelihoods in every aspect of our livelihood. We are dependent on climate-sensitive resources, smallholder farmers and pastoral communities. We are dependent on rainfall, the amount of rainfall. We are dependent on soil moisture. We are dependent on greenness. We are dependent on whatever. Everything that we are pursuing for our livelihood is affected by the climate change. Now, recently, IGBAC has done the correlation between, or the relationship between, climate change and security. We have seen that there is direct relationship between communal conflicts and weather extremes. And then the decisions we are making is affected by the information we have at the time of decision making. So what we need is to have the right and reliable information when we are making our decisions, and particularly for our policy makers. Therefore, IGBAC can be considered luckier that we are hosted by Kenya, a country that's led by a president that led climate summit event 2 years ago, as Elizabeth says. And again, let me say Kenya is also luckier with the fact that IGBAC, one of the 4 centers in the continent, is also located here. We really appreciate the land that you see as being provided by the Kenyan government. And that shows the commitment of the Kenyan government, and we really appreciate. Let me also take this opportunity to request the PS to take action on the road. We are really challenged with the traffic, not the main traffic, but the construction of the road. So if you can push the contractors to expedite or even to make a temporary detour, it is risking our staff life. So this is also a request. So without further ado, let me welcome the PS Dr. Raymond Omol Omolo to say the remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Let's take our seat. Dr. Abdi, the director of the IGAD Center. I'm struggling with this a bit. Okay. Elizabeth, the advisor to the UN Special Envoy for the region, our colleagues from the partner agencies, UNEP, IOM, colleagues from IGAD Center, the chiefs who today are the main reason why we are here, of course, for the next 2 days. Colleagues who work with me in the ministry and the team at the NCCSRP. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning once again.
Good morning, sir.
When I got in, I was like, there is a beautiful campus out of nowhere. And I was pretty much impressed by the atmosphere and just the hospitality of the team here. And you have a beautiful campus. And now that I'm here for the first time, I'm certain that this is not going to be the last time I'm here. We'll get an opportunity to come back several times. And you've conducted me around. I've seen some of what you do, and I must say I'm very impressed that you have state-of-the-art facilities and equipment, which is important in the work that you are doing for IGAD, the member states. And I'm sure that what you are able to do for the member states, the 7 member states, also is something that helps the rest of the region in the continent, together with the world, given the number of partners that work with you, and also what you're focusing in, which is on matters to do with security. Now, it's the rainy season, and therefore we have a very good opportunity to plant as many trees as we can. Listening to Wangari in terms of the numbers that we are looking at, when you break it down to 1.5 billion trees per year, you break it further to several million trees, it's for sure that you can't plant trees every single day. But then there are periods when you maximize based on the prevailing conditions. And within the year, this is the period that you try to push to get as many trees as possible. And that is why I'm happy and impressed that our call for partnership has elicited very good and positive response. That despite the fact that we initiated this program and this conversation more than 2 years ago, we have got to a space that we finally are in a place where things are taking shape. And just for the benefit of everybody, we have in excess of close to 4,000 chiefs across the country. So when you look at the chiefs and the senior chiefs who are in this room, don't take it that these are the only people or soldiers that we have on the ground. And therefore, as chiefs, you are here not just on your own behalf, not just on behalf of the location that you represent, but also on behalf of the rest of your colleagues who are not here. And therefore, as you undertake the 2-day training and program, it will be important that this is shared across. What you pick from this 2 days engagement is something that your fellow colleagues will also be able to benefit from. And because you are leaders in your respective administrative units, you have the assistant chiefs who work with you, you have the village elders, you have the community, which you have the responsibility of mobilizing and coordinating for purposes of positive development. Looking at the facilities in this campus at the center, we must make very good use of technology. That technology must help us resolve the climate change crisis that we are faced with, particularly with regards to security. And for the team that is here, Dr. Abdi, a number of you are scientists. I am one, and what we struggle with most of the times as scientists or researchers is that the interlink between what we know, what we learn, and the reality in terms of application at times is always a challenge. And I would want to throw this back to all of you that we must be able to find a mechanism of what we know as researchers or as scientists is easily translated and becomes more practical in terms of implementation. Otherwise, you end up with very good ideas, very good groundbreaking research, which doesn't translate into real-life impact. And that's why it's my honor to be here to officially open the National Climate Change Security Resilience Program that is meant for the training of our chiefs at the IGAD Center. I would want to sincerely appreciate our hosts as well as the partners for the continued collaboration that we are having with our ministry, the Ministry of Interior and National Administration, particularly in support of our national climate security agenda. We meet at a time when the impact of climate change is no longer abstract. It's very visible, it's devastating, as well as disruptive. In the most recent past, as a country, we have experienced climate-related shocks of unprecedented magnitude, where droughts have displaced entire communities, leading to conflicts over resources, whether it's grazing land or water, and it has also exposed a number of our citizens to food insecurity. In the same breath, flash floods have also swept through homes and infrastructure, causing immense human and economic loss. Actually, early last year, we really bore the brunt of floods, including up to the capital, the city center, where we lost more than 40 Kenyans as a result of floods. Countrywide, we had over 300,000 displaced. Infrastructure was broken. We are yet to fix most of those infrastructure programs. And that is why, if you look at what we are doing in Nairobi, in the capital city, we are having the Nairobi Rivers Regeneration Program. And it's a very ambitious program, which we expect to undertake in the next 2 to 3 years, which will significantly alter the Nairobi rivers and, of course, the environment around it. But we are not just doing this in Nairobi alone, we are doing the same across the country. And that is why, as a ministry, we sat back and asked ourselves, what do we have to do with all these programs for for the benefit of the people of this country. And as a ministry, we are strategically placed. I do not want to belabor how central or how crucial we are in the coordination and in driving government programs, whether it's in agriculture, whether it's in education, whether it's in health. And now we are talking about the climate change program. And His Excellency, the President, is very clear on what he would want us to do. And that is why, as chiefs, we sat back and asked ourselves, what role do we play? Now, under the leadership of His Excellency, the President, climate change has been elevated as a core pillar of national policy. And in response, as a ministry, we have developed the National Climate Change Security Resilience Program to reposition the role of national government administration officers as the frontline coordinators and mobilizers of climate resilience. The NCCSRP is a strategic internal mobilization framework that brings together the national government administration officers, the National Police Service, Correctional Services, and immigration officers. And through this program, all officers will be equipped with the knowledge and tools to contribute meaningfully to national climate action, particularly the presidential directive on the 15 billion trees to be grown and planted by the year 2032. Now, the role of chiefs in this effort cannot be overstated. You are at the heart of our administrative structure. You are the government's ears and eyes at the grassroots level. You are trusted conveners, dispute resolvers, and now you will also become champions of climate action. The training that you will undergo in the next 2 days marks a key milestone because it's the beginning of a transformative journey where chiefs across the country will be empowered to lead local climate initiatives, to mobilize communities, and build lasting resilience. Through this program, we are institutionalizing a whole of government and a whole of society approach to climate security. I remember 2 years ago when we began the tree growing campaign, there was one particular day that was dedicated for tree growing, and this was led by none other than His Excellency the President. And we had an overwhelming support from Kenyans. And one of the questions that Kenyans were asking, we are ready to plant trees, where do we get the tree seedlings? And it became apparent that there was a huge gap. And that is how, as part of that, we ended up with the Chiefs Climate Action Day, which we observe every first Friday of the month, where we are mobilizing the community to develop the tree nurseries at the Chiefs Camp, to plant trees in public facilities, whether they are hospitals or schools, and also to mobilize the community to be part of this bigger effort. Last year, we held a national briefing with all the 47 county commissioners as we were starting the rollout of this program. And each chief was tasked with mobilizing at least 5 groups in different categories, which is the youth, women, those who are in the private sector, religious institutions, as well as schools, so that we raise tree nurseries and actively participate in the tree growing activities. And the results we have today is very encouraging. We have over 13,000 people across the country that have been engaged, with more than 1,600 groups registered. This is just the beginning. Our goal at the end of it is to be able to mobilize over 8 million Kenyans through this structured framework, where we have one chief, we have one community, planting 1 tree at a time. Now, on the Chiefs Climate Action Day, all chiefs across the 47 counties are encouraged to mobilize and organize public events where communities plant trees in every location. And we would want and we expect that we have real-time reporting of what has happened. The partnership we have today with IGAD is a demonstration of what we can achieve when regional collaboration meets local action. And I'm happy that the success of this partnership would be something that then can be replicated in the other member states. So that as we grow trees in Kenya, then the rest of the 6 member states also do the same, and we expand it across the region, across the continent, for the good of humanity. IGAD's expertise on climate risk analysis and capacity building complements our national objectives, helping us create a secure, informed, and resilient position. I would want to reaffirm the government's commitment to supporting this initiative and to ensure that the NCCSRP program is effectively implemented across the country. We are not merely responding to a climate emergency, but we are reimagining governance in a changing world. A world where security is no longer defined only by physical threats, but by the stability of the ecosystems and the predictability of seasons and the resilience of communities. And earlier on, I was just asking Dr. and the team at the center here, in terms of how much information do they gather on weather patterns and the early warning systems, and how easily are they sharing that with the member states. I think this is something that with this partnership and collaboration, our ministry would really appreciate getting regular updates and information, because it would go a long way in helping us deliver for the country. Let me close by thanking all of you, thanking all our chiefs, our partners, the program facilitators for being part of this critical national effort. I would want to encourage us that we move forward with resolve, coordination, and a shared sense of commitment to safeguarding the future of our planet. As we plant trees, we are not just growing forests, but we are planting peace, stability, and hope. This would make your work much, much easier as a chief in the location, because it would take away one big source of conflict that always gets you to be on the receiving end, that always gets you to be explaining what has gone wrong. When people ask, where were you when this clan was butchering the other clan, or when so-and-so was stealing an animal from the neighbor? If we deliver on this, you would have delivered as a chief. And the bulk of what gives you trouble would have been resolved. I'm looking forward to us engaging going forward, and I will be keenly following up. Now, the 30 or so of you who are here, if I look at the dashboard in terms of the numbers of trees, I'll be disappointed if you are not the top locations that are giving us big numbers of not just trees that have been planted, but trees that grow to become forests and that will help us address the challenge of insecurity and conflict as a result of climate change. So thank you once again, and I'm wishing you very fruitful deliberations and engagement over the next 2 days. And to our partners, we don't take it for granted that you are investing in this important initiative, and you have my commitment that we will walk this through together. And when our special envoy gets to office, I think we will have enough briefs that will help him or her to continue to be supportive of these initiatives. and also to reaffirm the role of IGAD, that the member states need to support this important initiative for peace and prosperity in the region. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful keynote address, Bwana PS. Allow me to make two announcements as we wind up. First, in our midst, I'm meant to understand that we have the Kajiado West Sub-County DCC, Madam Lydia Moni. Karibu sana. We also have the ACC, Mr. Roy Okan from Ewaso Kedong Ward. Thank you very much. So after the national anthem, we'll allow the PS and his entourage to exit for a photo session and thereafter back to the office. The rest, I will tell you what next. Thank you very much. Let us all be upstanding.